And as Bexar County continues to work to slow the spread of the coronavirus this morning, health officials are now seeing an alarming new trend. More children are testing positive for the coronavirus. Erica Zuko is in the medical center this morning joining us right now. Erica, how many children are we talking about here?
Well, Sarah, the city says that the percentage of coronavirus cases among children has essentially doubled over the past 2 months. As of June 15th, we were looking at a number of about 6.4 cases among children. Now that number is up to 12.6%. They say the percentage of kids in the hospital for coronavirus has also increased. In mid-June, they say, kids made up about 1.8% of people hospitalized. Now they make up about 3.7% of people hospitalized. Metro Health says obesity and asthma were two of the major underlying conditions when it came to kids in terms of landing them in the hospital. Now, County Judge Nelson Wolff says this underscores the concerns they have about students heading back to school in person. The mayor underscores that we're still learning a lot about the coronavirus, and early on we didn't think kids were as likely to get it. Now we're seeing that it can spread, so he cautions parents to pay attention to that changing information and to make sure that they're also preventing the spread among those younger aged San Antonians. Live in the medical center, Erica Zuko, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.